My name is Rachel Martinez, and I am currently in the Auburn, Opelika area of Alabama. When did my IVF journey begin? My IVF journey began in, I'm going to say, August of 2019, but my fertility journey began 22 years ago. Let's see. Did you try other fertility clinics before CNY? Yes. I tried a bunch. I'm going to tell you. I started basically when we got married in Fort Worth, Texas, and I saw doctors there and nothing. By then, my husband and I had 2 miscarriages, and I was 19 years old, and basically I was dismissed for being young. Back then, I was healthy, young, working, married, and I was 106 pounds. Very important detail. So, we started off in Fort Worth, Texas, and basically I was told that I was young, I didn't need children right now, live my life. I didn't want to be a statistic, did I? Young and black and, basically still a teenager, even though I was married and working, and my husband was in the military and whatnot. So, we were dismissed. Then we got stationed in North Carolina, and I was dismissed for a while. And then I found a doctor who actually cared. This was a span between 2000 and 2006 where I was dismissed for being young and, whatnot. And by then, all my health problems started piling up on top of, infertility, and I had no idea what was going on with my body. So in 2006, I found a doctor who basically told me that me going from 106 pounds, and before I left Fort Worth, I had gained weight. And we weren't even there long. So I had went from 106 pounds to almost 200 pounds before we even left Fort Worth. So that was probably just a year. And nobody can explain it to me. Nobody can tell me what's going on with my body. Nobody wanted to because I was young and I didn't know how to advocate for myself. So fast forward 2006, I see this doctor in North Carolina, and he was in Wilmington, North Carolina. He basically ran a bunch of tests on me, and he told me my thyroid was killing me, and I had to have emergency surgery to remove my thyroid. It's so hard. I was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and we left it at that. So after I got my surgeries done and whatnot, he started the fertility treatments with me, like serious fertility treatments. We did Clomid, we did injectables, we did IUIs. Like I would get pregnant, but I would miscarry. I would get pregnant and I would miscarry. Then we started doing more testing, and I was diagnosed with antithrombin 3 deficiency, where it turned out I had blood clots, and it only affected me when I was pregnant. So I was having blood clots, and every time I would get pregnant, my body would clot off and kill my children. So when we found that out, he put me on blood thinners, and we did a round, and it didn't work. And then we did another round and it took, and I was pregnant with my baby girl. And unfortunately, my blood thinner wasn't a high enough dosage. And in the second trimester, we lost her. And so then my husband started deploying a lot. And it was his job. So he started deploying a lot. And then by the time we were able to get back in for another round, it was time for us to switch duty stations. So we ended up in Virginia. My husband thought this would be best because they have great medical up there. And, you know, finally we would be able to see big time doctors and get something done. We saw the doctors at Walter Reed. Nothing. It was the same thing. You know, I had to restart my treatment and I had to restart my tests and everything. And they basically came up with the same things. And we did the same things, same dosage, same everything. And I didn't understand why. But we did the same thing. And I would get pregnant and I would miscarry. And get pregnant and miscarry. Get pregnant and miscarry. And the doctor was getting frustrated and he told me, he's like, there is nothing wrong with you, that the thyroid meds and the blood thinners shouldn't be fixing. He's like, so I am going to send you over to NIH, the National Institute of Health in Washington, D.C., and he's like, you know, they do a lot of studies and they're constantly studying infertility, pregnant women, everything. He's like, they should be able to help you. And we're going to team up with them and something is going to be done. So I get over there and I see the doctors at NIH and, you know, they're running tests and going through my records. And they're like, okay, we're gonna get you pregnant and we're going to study you and we're gonna see what your body does. And then we got orders and we had to leave. I could not stay, I couldn't do anything, nothing. So I was this close, but it didn't happen. So we got orders to Hawaii. So I'm in Hawaii and I'm seeing the doctors and basically they dismiss me again. They're like, you're overweight, you need to lose weight, you know, we need you to lose weight. So I'm like, okay, I'm losing weight. They're like, just lose 5% of your body and, you know, you'll get pregnant and it'll be easy. I did that. I did more than that. And I got pregnant and miscarried. Pregnant and miscarried. So they basically were like, well, oh well. And so then I left and I went to Alabama. I needed to get home. I needed to just, you know, be home. So I saw a doctor in Alabama, in Birmingham. And he went through everything, redid my tests, you know, we did surgery because by then I was getting uterine polyps from the fertility treatments and the miscarriages. And we had those removed and I got pregnant and miscarried. And he didn't understand what was going on. By then, that was the first time I had heard about CNY and Dr. Kiltz, but I didn't do anything. So then I left because I'm nervous and I've been through so much, but we went from Alabama to California. So we were in San Diego and I saw the doctors on the naval base there and they said, you might want to try IVF, you know, to get pregnant. You know, we're going to do some time intercourse. We're going to do IUIs. We're going to do, you know, what we can. But IVF might be your best bet with everything that's going on. And my husband's like, she can get pregnant. Why does she need IVF? And they're like, because she keeps miscarrying. And he's like, that doesn't make any sense. So we did our time intercourse and we did our testing, everything, pregnant miscarriage. And then my husband retired from the military and we decided it's exhausting. We're just gonna take our money and we're going to travel the world. That's what we're gonna do. We don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on IVF. We don't want to, we don't want to keep doing this. But my heart was still like, you know what? I need to try. But I still didn't go to CNY. We went to Houston. My husband was retired. We went to Houston and we saw doctors there and they made a plan for us. They're like, you know what? This is the first time I heard it. We're going to raise your dosage up on the blood thinners and we're going to put you on baby aspirin. And we're going to incorporate progesterone. And I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot. But we ended up leaving. We had a family emergency and we ended up leaving. And so my husband's like, let's take a year, save some money, let's just go. My heart was like, okay. And then I was still in these groups and I'm still in the military groups, even though he's retired. And somebody mentioned they had a CNY baby. And they mentioned the price and they mentioned the doctors and everything else. And I've been hearing about it, but I haven't really paid attention. But what caught my eye about her story was she was like, the staff is wonderful. The staff is great. And then she's like, and the doctor prayed with me. The doctor prayed with me during my retrieval. The doctor prayed with me during my fertilization. I'm not really a big religious person, but I was like, any doctor that has that much empathy after all of the doctors that I've seen that didn't and were dismissing me and were being mean and rude, I'm like, any doctor that has that much empathy, I want to see them, So I told my husband, I said, I need to see this doctor and see what he says, and then we can close the book. We could be done. I'm like, but I want to see this doctor. And he said, okay. So we get to CNY, and I'm overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed. I talked to the nurse on the phone for my consultation, and she asked me all these questions, and she's like, well, we're going to make a plan for you. And we made a plan, and I went in, and it was just easy. It was easy. And I had to advocate for myself, more than usual, but it was easy. They let me talk to them. They let me tell them, how I felt, what I needed, what I did, what I didn't do, what worked, what didn't work, what I felt like I wanted to do on top of what they were going to do. So I love that. I absolutely love that. It was a back and forth. A lot of people are scared to go back and forth with their doctors, but over the years I learned, advocate for yourself. They will listen. And as long as it's not hurting you and whatnot, they will take it into consideration. And so they did. And, I loved it. I met Dr. Kiltz, and he was the sweetest guy. He came in, he held my hand. I didn't ask him to pray with me or anything, but he held my hand for a minute. He told me just relax, and he inserted, and oh my gosh, it was great. Okay, number 4, I'm sorry. What were the challenges associated with getting pregnant? And I went over that. Basically, it was basically all the miscarriages, the PCOS, the thyroids, the everything. What did Dr. Kiltz recommend? He went over basically what the other doctors went over in Houston and said that yes, we would incorporate progesterone. We were doing a higher dosage of the blood thinner. We did the aspirin. We did antibiotics, and we did different fertility drugs. It was easy. It was a breeze for me. And I love that. It was just a breeze. It was in and out for me, really. At my age, I was 39 at the time, and I was shocked. I'm shocked, because here I was 19 years old trying to get pregnant and miscarrying, and being dismissed. And at 39, here's this doctor, breezing me right through the process. So please describe what it's like to feel the pressure to want a baby so badly. Please describe what it's like to feel the pressure to want a baby so badly, but to know it sometimes feels intangible. That is hard. It's hard to describe because you go through and the first year is like, I'm going to get pregnant. You're young and you're like, it shouldn't be this hard. They say a year. If you're not pregnant in a year, just go see your doctor. And, it's like that. But then you get these doctors who feel like fertility is one size fit all, and they put you in a box, and, you end up going another year and another year and another year, and you see people having children, and it hurts your heart. It really does. But it's not their fault that they can have children and you can't. And you find ways to cope. Like for me, my nieces and nephews are everything. Those are my children. Each and every one of them. I have almost 30 of them, and most of them were born during this period of me having my miscarriages. I had 22 miscarriages. And most of my nieces and nephews were born in that time. And they are all my babies. And they know this. And I spoil them. And I hold them. And I go see them. And I talk to them. And, they're my kids. So sometimes, when I felt bad, I would go get them. I didn't care what their mother said. I would just go get them. They're my kids. Describe your emotions during this journey and before this journey. Hurt. Even during the journey, I was hurt. I was hurt that I had to do IVF. I was hurt that we were spending money that we were going to travel the world with to do IVF. I was just grateful also for CNY for not being as expensive as everywhere else. We were able to do this without breaking the bank. And that meant so much to me, that this clinic was so different. It was affordable. Everybody was nice. We weren't breaking the bank. If this didn't work out, we could still go and we could travel. We could do what we wanted. My husband could still be retired from the military. We can just be. So, while I was sad and hurt, and it still hurts to even think about it, it's just indescribable. I mean, you meet so many people who go through everything. You join Facebook groups, you join just groups, and you talk about it. You watch celebrities who go through it, but then they end up with their babies, and you still can't get your babies because, you don't have celebrity money, So it's just hard. It's like the world's passing you by, and you get depressed. And I was actually diagnosed with postpartum depression. I did not know that you could get postpartum depression and not have children. You learn something, you learn a lot through this journey. But, you know, with all the miscarriages, the doctors are like, yes, you have postpartum depression. And, you know, that's one thing you need to try to get treatment for while you're going through this process, because you can't keep going through this process, you know, while you're down. So I did. I sought treatment and I had treatment, and I'm still basically in therapy because of this, and because, you know, losing children is just the hardest. And at the end of this journey, my son, who is here, is actually a twinless twin. I lost one of my babies at 2 weeks old. So, what sets my story apart from others, I feel like basically me being on this journey for as long as I have has set my story apart. My husband being in the military, people ask us, why didn't we just adopt, you know? And we actually tried. We went through the process, and every time we would get approved, you know, because we're a normal couple, we would get approved. But with the military life, specifically with my husband's job, we would always have to go. So we would go. And in order to adopt through the foster care system, you have to be somewhere for like 2 years after you get the child in your house. And it takes over a year to get approved. So your 3 years at this duty station is gone. And we never even got a chance to get a child in our house to even ask for an extension to adopt. And, you know, we wanted to do private adoption, but at the time we couldn't do a home study because my husband was always on the go. So, you know, our story is not just infertility. It's also, you know, like just not having an avenue to grow our family at all, you know? So it was hard. It was extremely hard when your heart is just set on, I want a family, you know? And then with my husband being gone all the time, it was me by myself a lot, which contributed to my depression and, you know, military life and always on the go, far from your family, making friends, leaving friends, you know, up and down in your weight, health issues, miscarriages, everything. It is just hard. Doctor after doctor after doctor. It's hard. It really is. Please describe Dr. Kills' personality and what sets him apart. That man, he is everything. He is funny, he's sweet, he's noisy, you know, and he's spiritual and a little bit pushy. But he's the best. He's the best. He made this process a breeze for me, and he's opened doors for me, and he gave me my son, and he's an angel. What's your advice for people going through this or who are going back and forth on whether to do this? I say do it. Do it, because your heart, when you have that you want a baby, it's going to be on your heart forever. People have been telling me to just give up years ago, and I thought about giving up like so many times, and you know, we would take a break here and there, but it wouldn't be for long because I wanted a baby, I wanted a family, you know. It was just on my heart, and I feel like God put it on my heart because it was meant to be. So it's just, I would say, do what you got to do. Advocate for yourself. Push. It doesn't matter if you're 18 years old and you want a baby. You are an adult. You know, talk to your doctors and let them know that you're an adult and you want to be taken seriously. Because they will sit here and put you in a box in a heartbeat and tell you, that you're going to be a statistic or you got time or anything, but you have to advocate for yourself. Advocate, advocate, advocate. I can't say this enough because I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to say anything. I would just be pushed around for years and years and years. And I tell people all the time in the groups that I'm in, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter what's going on with you. You need to talk to your doctors and let them know that you're serious and they need to do something because they're taking your insurance money anyway. They're taking your money anyway. So if they're going to take your money, they need to do something for you. What are the stakes involved in IVF or IUI? For me, personally, it was the cost. We were taking a chunk of our money for us to travel with on something that, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think it would work, but I wanted to say that I tried everything before I shut the door. So it is going to be a financial cost. I see people taking out loans, people taking out money from their 401ks, people putting themselves into debt. Like, fertility is $1 billion business, and these people, a lot of doctors will put you in a box. They will put you in a box, a one size fit all box. They will just put you in there, and if you don't fit in that box, then they won't take you seriously. And I wish that when I saw CNY the first time, years and years and years ago, I would have just went. I would have had my children, I feel like, years and years and years ago. But yeah, the stakes are high. They really are, because you're putting your body through so much in order to have a baby, and it's not just your bank account, it's your body. It's your body. You're taking these injections, you're filled with hormones, you don't know if it's going to work, you don't know if you're gonna get enough eggs. At my age, I did not know if I was gonna have any eggs to make embryos. I didn't know what was going to happen. But we were putting a lot on the line, basically for me to close the book. But with other people, it's going to be a lot on the line to grow your family, and it's money and it's non-refundable. So it's a lot and it's hard, but it's just something that you gotta do, and I feel like you should take the chance. How many cycles did it take, or how many have you attempted? Did you transfer fresh or frozen? How did you decide? How many eggs were you able to retrieve? What wellness proactives have you found to be most effective, and why? Okay, so it took me 2 cycles with IVF to get pregnant. The first time I transferred 2 fresh 3-day embryos, and it ended up in a chemical pregnancy. I was getting positive pregnancy tests that never got darker, and I basically was supposed to keep my promise and give up and let go. But I asked my husband, I'm like, I'm talking to some of the ladies in this group for CNY, and one of them in particular, she and I were talking about our cycles, because our cycles were side by side, and she also did a fresh one, and she said she wanted to try frozen, and she was like, a lot of the women are having success with the 5-day frozen versus the fresh ones. And she's like, I want to do it. And she's like, you should do it too. And I'm like, I see that too, and I would like to do that too. So I'm going to talk to my husband and see if we could do it. And at this point, my husband, he barely tells me no for anything. He does it. He doesn't tell me no. So he's like, okay, well, go ahead. So I did the monitoring, and then we did everything we had to do. And then I went up to New York by myself this time to transfer 2 5-day frozen embryos. And it's a funny story because I went back to my hotel room right after the transfer and I tested. I did a pregnancy test. And then the next day I did a pregnancy test. The next day I did a pregnancy test. You know, my husband, he's like, you can't sit here and waste all this money on pregnancy tests. And, you know, I had over 100 pregnancy tests, and my husband gave me one and he hid the rest. He's like, you're not testing until the day before the beta, you know? And he's like, I'll let you have one then. And he's like, so pick a day and test between now and then, and good luck. He didn't know that, you know, I was just gonna go out and get more tests and have more tests brought over to me. So that's what I did. I was testing every day until this man found out I was still testing, and he just gave me back my test. He's like, forget it. Here's your test. So I was testing every day, and then 3 days after my transfer, I got a positive, and then it kept getting darker and darker and darker, and I was so happy, you know. We basically were doing the progesterone, and we were doing the higher dosage of the Lovenox, the blood thinner, and the aspirin, and you know, I was excited. And then beta day came, and I was like, please let me have 100 on the HCG level. Let me have 100, because that's basically a great number, and I've always ended up in the 20s or 30s and having miscarriages. I'm like, let me have 100. So I go into my portal and I'm reading it, and it says 94.0. That's what my eyes read. And I'm like, well, it's close to 100. And I'm like, yay, I'm so excited. I'm, you know, at least one of the babies stuck. And I take it and I show my husband, and he's like, 94. He's like, that says 940. And I'm like, nuh-uh. And he's like, it says 940, babe. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. And then I looked at it, 940. I'm like, wow. I'm like, both babies must have stuck. And then he's like, both. He's like, that's like super high. And then, you know, so that's how we found out. And we ended up getting an ultrasound and seeing twins, and it was so exciting. What has been the toughest part of our journey? All of it. From the very beginning, being dismissed, being told that I would be a statistic, being told that I was too young, you know, being told I was too fat at one point, basically the doctors ignoring all of my health issues until they got completely out of control. Nobody would help me. It was a lot. And then finding doctors who would help me, but it was kind of late and it made everything harder. It was a lot. And then, you know, even during my pregnancy, it was difficult because I had a lot of issues with my OBGYN, you know, not wanting to do anything for me and putting me in a box, and not taking my pregnancy seriously, not wanting to keep up with the blood thinners, even though I'm supposed to be on blood thinners throughout the whole pregnancy, you know, basically trying to dismiss my medications and dismissing me. And until I was able to switch insurances and get new doctors who, you know, basically did what they needed to do. And then I ended up with my CNY babies, and my water broke at 23 weeks pregnant. So my water broke at 23 weeks pregnant, and I was in the hospital for a week before I gave birth to my twin boys. And my son Robbie lived for 2 weeks, and then he passed away. And my son Roman was in the hospital for 4 months, And then he came home and he's just the happiest, healthy baby. And even though the journey was hard, I am grateful. I am grateful, for Robbie and Roman, because I never thought I was going to see their faces. I never thought I would see Robbie's face. I never thought I would get to see my child, and I saw both of them. And he was beautiful. My baby was beautiful. They're both beautiful. And I just, even though it was hard and it's been so long, and I said I was never gonna do this again, I'm ready to do this again. And it is insane how much I want to do this again. And I will only do this with Dr. Kiltz. I will only do this with him. Let's see. Do you have anything else you'd like us to know? I guess that's it. I mean, this whole thing, it's been insane. But in the end, I have my son, and I have 7 more embryos on ice. We were able to retrieve 25 eggs, and then we were down to 9 embryos, and I transferred 2, and I have 7 left, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I would like to have a surrogate, but I don't know how I would be able to do that. So if I have to go through the journey myself, I have to work on my body a little bit more. I've been working on losing weight and, doing what I have to do, because I'm not getting any younger. I turned 40 already, and I'm gonna try, if I have to do it myself, I'm gonna try to do this in the next year, so that I'm not too up there trying to have another baby. And I'm gonna do this with Dr. Kiltz and probably just transfer 1 embryo, because I don't think I can handle another twin pregnancy. But that's where I'm at. So that's it.